should the pressure in this labor situation between the WNBA and its players, should the pressure be put less on the owners and more on the corporate partners in the cities that have WNBA teams to spend more money with these teams, to challenge those corporate partners to spend the same amount of dollars with the Phoenix Mercury, with the Los Angeles Sparks, with the Golden State Valkyries, although they're doing pretty good from what I understand because they got a University of Arizona grad running their corporate partnership program. I used to work with her. Is that where the pressure needs to be? On the businesses in these communities with the dollars who are spending those dollars with the men's teams. Put the pressure on them to spend those dollars with the women's teams in those markets. And that we can flow that down here to the University of Arizona as well, to the college level. That's how you're going to grow programs. We've been having this conversation all year long in terms of women's basketball and the state of the women's basketball program. And clearly, there's not as much money going into the women's basketball program at the University of Arizona as there is going into the University of Men's Basketball program. Let's start with the fact that Tommy Lloyd makes $5 million and Becky Burke makes $225,000. We can start there. The disparity between the two programs here in Tucson. Now, I'm not saying you're going to pay. In a perfect world, should Becky Burke make closer to what Tommy Lloyd makes? Should a school like Arizona be able to fund their women's basketball program to the same level that they fund their men's basketball program? So you don't have to let a head coach that took you to a national championship game walk out the door because we got to cut costs. That's the perfect world. How do we get to that perfect world? That's the question. How do we get there? Because clearly we have lived in a country that for, how long ago was 1776? 250 years now? Has focused a lot on what's best for men and not what's necessarily best for women.
You know how much Gino makes?
Gino Auriemma. How much does Gino make?
Gino's base salary, bro, is $400K a year.
That's it?
With stipulations and a bunch of other, bells and whistles is the way these contracts are always written. $2.94 million is what he made. But that's media obligations, your coaches' shows, and all those other endorsement things that you do for the university. But the base salary, his salary on the books is $400K a year. And that's the best women's coach of all time.
Wow. That's unbelievable. I would have thought Gino, I don't have any idea.
I had to look it up because you're talking about the discrepancy between Coach Burke and Coach Lloyd. I had to look it up and see how much does the best women's basketball coach of all time make.
Yeah, I would have thought he was at least over $1 million, maybe even close to $2 million. Wow.
Yeah, total compensation.
That's the problem.
24-25, $3.34 million.
So again, we know. It goes back to we know. I mean, sports is run by the college level donors. You've got people giving money to these universities. On the professional level, it is the money that they make. And granted, like we said, TV contracts are part of that. But again, when you talk about the TV contracts, that goes back to what? Sponsorships, right? Lay out those numbers that you were talking about in the break, J-Dub, about the NBA postseason versus the WNBA as a whole.
Yeah, I'd have to bring it back up again. But basically, the NBA last year made $840 million in ad revenue, just from television advertising revenue during the NBA playoffs last year.
Right.
840 plus million, and the WNBA made 200 for their entire season. The number I've been seeing a lot of lately is revenue, the percentage of revenue, and NBA player salaries make up 50%. WNBA's make up less than 10%. I don't know that the NBA isn't still supplementing the WNBA, right? Like as a league. I know forever they did not make money as a league. And so the NBA, as the, I guess, parent company or whoever that works on the books, has always helped with that. It seems as if the influx of popularity in the last 48 months for women's basketball is about to change. I think that's why this moment and this CBA is so important for that sport. But you really need as many eyeballs as possible at home, right, DK? Choosing to spend that hour and a half, 2 hours of your evening watching your local WNBA team, that leads to higher ad revenue, that leads to higher salaries.
Well, it would be nice if we could watch those games, right?
Right.
That's another conversation we can have. We can't watch the Mercury games, just like we can't watch the Suns and the Diamondbacks here in Southern Arizona. But I don't want to get into that conversation today because I'll get angry about that. But again, I challenge you. If you're a business owner, if you're a corporate partner of any athletic organization, I challenge you to be spending as much money on women's sports as you are on men's sports. Ultimately, that's where the change has to happen. Pepsi, Chevrolet.
How about Flippers?
Flippers. I don't know.
Flippers, TK, is the name of the clothing brand company that sponsors the Mercury's uniforms as of this season. I just read about that for the first time ever.
There you go. But those companies have to say, you know what? This $1 million, this $2 million, these ads we're buying for the Super Bowl, we're going to take inventory of all the money we're spending in professional men's sports. And if we're not going to give that, I mean, heck, if you took inventory, okay, if it's not one for one, but if you're Pepsi or Coke, let's just say, because are we a Coke school here? I think we're a Coke school.
I don't know. Are we Atlanta people or not Atlanta people?
No, I think we're Coke school.
Okay.
Here. So we'll say Coke. If Coke is spending $10 million on men's athletics, on NFL, NBA, major leagues, NCAA men's basketball tournament, whatever, if they just spent $5 million with women's sports, that would go a long way to creating more of an equality in women's athletics. But that's where it's got to start. I mean, we can talk about owners versus the players. Where are the owners getting the money from? They're getting it from their corporate partners. So it should be all of us against the corporate partners.